Our next speakers represent Libraries Build Business, which is a national initiative of the American Library Association supported by Google.org. This program is intended to build capacity in libraries offering programming or services to local entrepreneurs and the small business community, prioritizing low-income and underrepresented entrepreneurs. Megan Janicki serves as Deputy Director of Strategic Initiatives in the Public Policy and Advocacy Office of the American Library Association. Stacey Goddard is representing the Spokane County Public Library, and we also have Adam Pitts, Andrea Devereux, and Atlas Logan representing Gwinnet County Public Library. So we're thrilled to have them here, and especially after hearing Samira and her advice to be able to show libraries doing this work, I think is such a great segue, and to bring this down to best practices and activities that are happening in support of libraries. So we're thrilled to have you here to talk about LBB, your entrepreneurship and business programs, and the resources that are available to everyone here through LBB. So Megan, I believe you have slides that you should be able to share, and I'll let you guys take it away.
Thank you, Andrea. Okay, everyone can see that? Yes, great. Perfect. Thanks, Andrea, so much for having us. It's great to speak with you all today. I'm Megan Janicki from ALA's Public Policy and Advocacy Office, and the project manager of the Libraries Build Business Initiative. And like Andrea said, we are going to give you a little overview of the lessons learned from the Libraries Build Business Initiative, and Stacey Goddard from the Spokane County Library District, and Adam, Atlas, and Andrea from the Gwinnet County Public Library in Georgia will share their on-the-ground experiences with offering programs and services for aspiring and existing entrepreneurs. So thanks very much. We have plenty of time for questions as well, so feel free to put those in the chat. So just a quick overview, as Andrea said, this initiative was a $2 million initiative supported by Google.org to partner with a cohort of public libraries from around the country. We selected 13 public libraries from 12 states, representing urban, suburban, rural, and tribal locations, all the way from Los Angeles Public with something like 96 branches to tiny communities like Independence Public Library in Kansas and Topsom Public Library in Maine. The goal of this was to demonstrate that any library, no matter their size or budget, can offer small business and entrepreneurship initiatives to their community that are especially designed to support their local small business community. And that libraries have an integral role in the entrepreneurial ecosystem in their communities. So everyone kind of created a program that best fit the needs of their local community and was targeted specifically to underrepresented or low-income entrepreneurs. So Stacey and the Gwinnet team will tell you more about that, but this could be women entrepreneurs, immigrants, Black or Brown-owned businesses, returning citizens, speakers of other languages, just to name a few examples. With our project, so we kicked off in 2020, which was just a month after the pandemic started, so everyone had to kind of pivot and adapt. And we finished our grant period early this year in end of January 2022 with the release of our Libraries Build Business Playbook. So another piece of this project was to not only to impact the local small businesses and entrepreneurs, which actually I should have said, we had great impact in our local communities. We impacted nearly 15,000 participants in the programs across the country with in-person, online programs, different services, resources for checkout or for use in the library, as well as, of course, reference support and information access, technology access. But the second piece of that was to also leverage this for the library field to create strategies, models, toolkits that any library could adapt in their context. So the Libraries Build Business Playbook was released in February of this year. It's a free downloadable resource. It's on our website. If someone could put that in the chat for me, that would be great. Our website has links to all of the resources that I'm about to talk about, so definitely check that out. The playbook is a collaboration of all 13 libraries that participated in our cohort, and includes promising strategies and models, as well as inspiration to adapt in the local context, in areas including equity, diversity, and inclusion, sustainability, getting started, and some resources for smaller libraries to kind of build capacity and see how they might already be supporting entrepreneurs or already have the resources needed. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. In addition, we also published a book this year in May 2022, Libraries That Build Business. It features over 30 libraries from around the country that offer step-by-step models on how to do small business and entrepreneurship services at the library. Your very own Andrea Lewandowski is a co-author, so that's really cool. And of course, everybody on our panel here today also authored a chapter. So definitely check out that book. That's available through ALA Editions. It's not online, it's an actual print book, but it features a lot of great libraries around the country. Again, ranging from really small communities to large systems. And we believe that these resources are best used in conversation. So, and actually related to what Samira said about making transformational connections today, we love that idea. We would invite you to join our Libraries Build Business community. We think this is a great place for library workers interested in connecting with peers about starting or growing or taking their program in a new direction, programs for entrepreneurship and small business. We invite you to connect with us there. We hold a monthly meetup on Zoom. The discussion board is live all the time for people to ask questions or share resources. I love when people share photos from their programs, so that's a great highlight that you can get there. We're also offering peer coaching still. There's information about that on the website if you're interested in signing up. So if you're just getting started with a small business initiative at your library, it's a great opportunity to connect one-to-one with somebody who's had some experience in running a program successfully. So just somebody to maybe offer some insight or look over your resources and get a second opinion. I highly recommend you sign up for that. Our peer coaches are people from the Libraries Build Business cohort, including Stacey, who you'll hear from in a minute. So just finally, so this is one of our resources in the playbook. This is our Libraries Build Business 3 tiers model. So what I said about building capacity or offering services with the resources you already have, we believe that every library is already equipped to support small businesses and entrepreneurs. So maybe you're at this very beginning tier, the tier 1, where you can leverage your existing resources to promote them to the small business community. If you have meeting space, internet connection, public computers, you have things that entrepreneurs need. So just a matter of making sure they feel welcome in your space, making sure they know about the library and how to access your resources is the first step there. From there, in tier 2, with more capacity, you can seek out partners to develop dedicated programming. A lot of people were mentioning SCORE or SBDC. Those are great partners in creating programs for small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs. So partnerships and kind of creating some dedicated programming that exists in the library. And then finally, in tier 3, becoming a sustaining presence in the small business community and really becoming a leader in that space by providing dedicated services and staff, having resources equipped specifically for what small business owners need. And that's something that can grow over time. But just to give an idea of like how we see any library of any size kind of fitting in to the small business ecosystem. So I'm gonna stop there. I think we'll save all questions for the end. And Stacey, are you up next? This is our contact info. Or I don't know if Gwinnet wants to go next.
I didn't know if you had slides from Gwinnet next, or
we do have more slides, but I can put them up. before or after you go.
Sure. Do you guys have a preference? I'm happy to go next, but I don't have any slides. So,
You go ahead and go, Stacey. That's fine.
okay, great. And then Gwinnet, big finish. As was mentioned, my name is Stacey Goddard. I'm with Spokane County Library District in Eastern Washington State. Our program for Libraries Build Business was our proposal that was accepted was to expand an existing program we do around Small Business Saturday, which I will talk more about in a minute because I think it's a easier entry point than what we attempted to do with LBB. Talking about lessons learned, one thing we learned was maybe don't plan your entire program based on in-person activities when there's a global pandemic looming that's going to require everything to pivot to online. We also learned that, so what we wanted to do was create what we call the Small Business Boot Camp that would support the communities that we work with to do Small Business Saturday events. Our service population in Spokane County is about 280,000 people. Spokane County itself has 500,000 people. The remaining 220,000 folks are in the city of Spokane, but so we have a big service area that includes some small towns, including Deer Park, which was our focus for this proposal. They're a small town of 4,200 people. They're 20 miles away from the core services in Spokane proper, if you will. They don't have reliable transit. Maybe there's one bus that goes up there a day, or one of our city buses. The per capita earnings for Deer Park are $11,000 a year lower than the state average. So we knew that small businesses are really important to Deer Park and other communities like that in our service area. And in working with them on Small Business Saturday, we discovered that we did the first year with them in 2019, and we discovered that the business community up there was rather disjointed. They didn't really talk to each other. They didn't share sales leads. They weren't really effectively marketing for events like back to school and the holidays. And in talking with the Chamber of Commerce in that town, it just seemed like they could use some specific training and workshops around how to be a successful business and how to be ready for Small Business Saturday next year. So we developed that Small Business Boot Camp with that in mind, working very closely with our local SCORE chapter, who we've been partners with for about 10 years. We propose doing monthly in-person workshops to create network opportunities for this business community, where I should mention internet access is also an issue because it's one of the more rural parts of our county. So there's a lot of dead zones, there's a lot of hills and valleys, and lots of folks just don't have reliable internet. There's reliable internet in the small area of the Deer Park core downtown, if you will, which is about 8 square blocks, but people that are out on their farm or their ranch don't have reliable access. So we saw this as an opportunity to bring them in. We were going to share a meal, have this cohort, bring speakers in, do all this stuff. And then with the pandemic happening, we had to shift everything to online. So one of the things we did really quickly was purchase some mobile hotspots so that we could guarantee that our participants were able to log in and do this now 100% virtual program. One of the things we learned in this project was that, and it was going to be a year-long thing, 12 months is too long for most small business owners or entrepreneurs who are trying to launch their business to commit to. So, moving forward, we're hoping to adapt this to be like a 3 to 6 workshops a year, with the idea that we would start in January, lead up to Small Business Saturday, get business owners the tools that they need to be more successful to capture those spending dollars around Black Friday and that big shopping weekend. But one thing I wanted to talk about that I think is an easier entry for libraries is doing programs around Small Business Saturday, being what American Express calls a neighborhood champion. And if you're not familiar, Small Business Saturday was something that was developed by American Express, and the conversation about evil credit card empires and how much we want to support them is maybe for another panel. But this is something that was developed by American Express in 2010 during the recession, and the whole idea was getting people to turn their attention to their local favorite small businesses after they spent their money on Fridays and at the big box stores. And so becoming a neighborhood champion is a pretty easy lift, especially because American Express will send you a box of giveaway items, swag, signs, banners, all sorts of things. So really, when the first year we did it was with a different community in our service area. And it involved just talking with local businesses. So there is time involved as far as going face to face, because we discovered that local businesses maybe don't respond to email. They're too busy to answer their own phone sometimes. So it did require some time going in person and just saying, we're going to create this event that's going to get people into your stores. The first year we did a scavenger hunt activity. So they maybe had to go into the local gift shop and find out what was in the display, the center of the display at this gift shop, or what year was this restaurant established, and they'd go into the restaurant and get the answer. And then when they came back to the library with their scavenger hunt, they'd go into a drawing. And that first couple of years, we gave away these really nice reusable shopping bags that were part of the American Express swag bag. Later on, we were able to get funding from our Friends of the Libraries groups, who were very generous in giving money for gift cards that we bought from small businesses in those communities. But I think that being a neighborhood champion is just kind of like rallying the troops around that idea. It's really helpful to have some sort of an activity or event. We played around with a bunch of different ideas: scavenger hunt, bingo card. We have like a shop small passport that we're using now, which is basically they go into the business. The business has a stamp that we've given them. Their employees stamp the passport when people come in and shop. Library patrons don't have to buy anything, but we're hoping that they'll get in there. They'll see how great the store's products or services are, and they will do some shopping, and it will be impactful to the business community. And we've gotten feedback from businesses over the years from the communities that it is something that they appreciate the library support in and look forward to doing it every year. We also have library patrons who come in first thing. We have these welcome stations set up on Small Business Saturday in the libraries where they pick up their game piece and other things. And we've got a couple communities where people are collecting those American Express reusable shopping bags every year because they change the design and it looks pretty cool. So this is something I was shocked when we started doing it. I'm not sure there's many libraries in Washington State that are doing this. I know other libraries are doing it across the country. And I am happy to talk about Small Business Saturday all day long with people. So I'll put my contact information in the chat if people want to reach out and email me about it. But there's a lot that you can do for your business communities with that. And again, working with these business communities, you're able to see kind of what sorts of training needs are out there for your business community, what sorts of things they need help with, and then you can develop future workshops and programming targeted to those business owners that are going to make a difference in their ability to improve their own business practices, maybe be a better social media presence, whatever the challenges are out there, that will help you be better positioned to address them. So I think I'll stop right there and let Gwinnet go, because I know we want to save time for questions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stacey. Let's see, I guess, Megan, do we have our slides? And just by way of introduction, I'm Adam Pitts. I'm the branch manager of our Lawrenceville branch and the project manager of the New Start Entrepreneurship Incubator. And I'm here with my colleagues, Andrea, Devereux, and Atlas Logan, if they would like to introduce themselves as well.
Sure, I'll go ahead and go. I'm Atlas Logan. I'm the branch manager at Gwinnet's Duluth location, and I am a supportive role on this team. So I do whatever is needed, what Adam asks of me.
Hello, my name is Andrea Devereux, and I am an MSW, and I am also the outreach coordinator for the program. The New Start Entrepreneur Incubator program realizes that a person's past does not define their present nor their future. So therefore, through this program, we assist formerly incarcerated individuals by giving them a second chance in developing financial security by providing knowledge and the resources to support and supply the skill sets necessary to establish and expand on their business. The framework we have in place puts us in a position to supply them with the toolkit needed for their businesses. We applied for a Libraries Build Business grant, which tailored to the needs of our students provided by the American Library Association and Google, and we launched our program. And here is our marketing video.
There we go. Thank you.
When I walk through the door, that'll make you change your mind pretty fast. I don't want to be here. It's uncomfortable. You can't do what you want to do. You can't eat when you want to eat. It's pretty rough.
We've all been through some tough times, especially with a conviction and incarceration.
5 years there and 5 years in the state.
You aren't alone and you can ask for help.
One of our main missions is to make sure that we get our resources, turn them outward, and mobilize into the community.
The biggest challenge that a formerly incarcerated person faces is the stigma behind their incarceration or their criminal record.
So we're enabling them to take their skills to start their own businesses.
Pretty much you have to be determined to want change in order to change.
So what we wanted to do was to create entrepreneurship hubs in underserved communities.
To have someone actually extend that hand, that is so valuable.
The classes are actually kind of fun.
Writing a business plan.
Advertising, I learned where I would need to advertise.
Accounting, marketing.
So you could be really clear and coherent about how do you actually start a business.
To really be a successful entrepreneur, you have to develop the right mindset.
While they're enrolled, they get an actual laptop. We also provide a hotspot so they can have internet access 24/7.
If you have a skill, and most of us do, that you can contribute, then why don't you start your own business and why wait?
Put your mind to it, you can do anything.
To become not only the boss, but the owner of your company and hopefully your destiny.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but the winning is great.
The rationale for starting this program was realizing the realities of the hardships formerly incarcerated individuals face when transitioning back into societies, from their barriers to their recertification. The Gwinnett County Jail houses over 35,000 to 37,000 individuals on any given year, plus has the capacity to house an additional 2,600 pretrial detention center inmates. This makes the Gwinnett Jail the second most populous in the state of Georgia. The population housed here are majority of disadvantaged minorities under the age of young as 17 years old and with only a 10th grade education. So you can see how these individuals can be highly judged from these past experiences. More than often, formerly incarcerated individuals have a greater difficulties finding means of support through a job, let alone starting their own business, than the rest of the general population. As we work to build our resources and build on our small business workshops, we did find it very vital to include workshops, which included connecting our students to employers who actually accepted applications from formerly incarcerated individuals. The next phase was funded by the Google Grant partnership with Google and American Library Association through Library Build Business, which made the creation of the Entrepreneurship Incubator for the formerly incarcerated individuals. And this was to help them develop business ideas, learn what is needed to run a successful business, and receive one-on-one support from successful entrepreneurships and business experts. Throughout our research and our outreach in the community, Gwinnett Public Library was able to connect with the formerly incarcerated population. And through our interactions, it led to being invited to present a presentation of our program to the Greater Gwinnett Reentry Alliance. Gwinnett County Public Library's goal with this program, the New Start Entrepreneurship Incubator Program, is to indeed level the playing field in efforts to assist formerly incarcerated individuals navigate their path into the larger community. The next slide. So when we talk about the barriers, typically they're faced with a second sentence, which means although they serve their time, they're still punished for their past experiences. And this leads to them not having very successful reentry into society. So some are not allowed to vote and eligible for public assistance and public benefits, can't get student loans, difficulty even getting a state ID, lack of transportation, housing, education, lack of a support system, mainly family. And they also have a significant amount of criminal justice debt, like court fees, probation fees, past child support fees, and even they have the risk of being reincarcerated if they do not pay these fees. So these are some significant barriers, including also the employment piece, where they are restricted on occupational licenses and also employer discrimination. They may find a job, and when their background comes back, they may get fired. And if they do receive a job, they may get lower pay or benefits than their coworkers. So truthfully, this is a very bad experience for them to go through, because they may not even get a job if they even tell them of their past experiences. So through our program, as mentioned in the Library Field Business Playbook, we are laying that foundation of support and resources to address these disparities.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure of the program. So New Start is a 6-month course. It launched in January of 2021, and it consists of monthly in-person classes where the students hear from local business experts. What you're seeing here is our Logan branch, and for the first 2 cohorts of the program, this was our meeting place. For the current cohort, we actually moved it to the Duluth branch where Atlas is, because they have open access there, extended self-service hours, so we didn't have to feel quite as rushed to wrap up at the end and get out of the building before it closed for the end of the day. But the presentation at our first meeting was given by the Vice President of the Greater Gwinnet Reentry Alliance, who you saw in the marketing video. His name is Brendan Spar. We felt that he also is an entrepreneur, and he also served time in jail. And so we felt that that shared experience was a great way to help the students develop their mindset and overcome the stigma associated with incarceration. And our other presenters have included experts from SCORE, Small Biz Ally, which is a local business consultant, and also ACE Women's Business Center, which is another local small business support organization. And most of those partners were already worked with us previously or had assisted with small business programming in the past for the library. And we initially intended for it to be 2 cohorts. The first was going to be January through June of 2021, and then the second was July through December. It was so successful, though, that we have now started on a 3rd cohort, which began in July of this year. And the reason for breaking it down into cohorts of about 15 students each was to keep the overall number of participants low enough to provide the one-on-one assistance that they would need from both ourselves and from their mentors, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment. And it also gave us the opportunity to learn some things that maybe could have gone a little better from the first cohort and apply those changes to future cohorts. Well, what you're looking at now is a excerpt of our curriculum document. So the monthly meetings are supplemented by an online curriculum developed by the New Start team here at GCPL. And just to give you kind of a synopsis, month 1 covers mindset, reasons to start a business, and overcoming barriers and fears. Month 2 is how to draft a business plan. Month 3 is basic financial practices. Month 4 is marketing and branding. Month 5 is finding funding, and month 6 is hiring, business licensing and laws, and customer service. And the additional resources we're using for the program include the Entrepreneurial Mindset Academy, Brian Hamilton Starter U, and websites such as irs.gov and the Small Business Association. We also incorporated some content from LinkedIn Learning, which is one of our databases. Okay, and as I mentioned in a previous slide, the mentorship is one of the most important components of our New Start program. So each student is paired one-on-one with a expert business mentor who is an entrepreneur themselves. They are all volunteers, but a lot of them are affiliated with SCORE or Small Biz Ally, and they're available to answer the students' questions and guide them through the process of creating a business plan and getting their ideas off the ground. And the entrepreneurship kits, which were mentioned in the marketing video, consist of a laptop and a hotspot. And as Andrea mentioned, one of the main barriers that formerly incarcerated people face, or one of them, is technology, the lack of access to computers, the internet, and being incarcerated for a while, you might have fallen behind on tech a little bit. So we make these available to the students to borrow while they're enrolled in the course. And in addition to the Libraries Build Business community, our 3 big kind of support groups for the program are ourselves, the core team, which is myself, Atlas, Andrea, Ann Sari, who coordinates the mentors, and Ron Gauthier, who you also saw in the marketing video. Our GCPL leadership support, the branch services director with obtaining the LBB grant and providing project guidance, our marketing and communications director with our promotional video and social media marketing campaign, and then our director of development and community partnerships with securing panelists for Launchpad, which I don't think I've mentioned yet, but that is a Shark Tank style funding opportunity where the students get to pitch their business ideas to a panel and potentially receive some funding, and they also get feedback. And last but not least, our community partners, both through our guest presenters and our volunteer mentors. Okay, and I'll turn it over now to Atlas for the next part.
Sure. So I'm going to talk about some of the challenges and lessons learned that we've had throughout this process. We've had a lot of success from our recent cohorts of the New Start Entrepreneurship Incubator, but we have definitely had our fair share of growing pains as well. Fortunately, we've been able to use these as learning opportunities to improve them for the future iterations of the program. So due to COVID, the first 2 New Start classes were virtual only, and we continued to offer a virtual attendance option after transitioning to in-person classes in March of 2021. And while at first this seemed to provide greater flexibility, it actually resulted in a lack of engagement and ultimately attrition. For the second and third cohorts, all monthly meetings have been in person, but we do allow 1 excused absence for the duration of the program, and our attendance across monthly sessions, as well as our overall student engagement, has been much improved with the in-person meetings. This course is intended to allow us to work closely with a small group of individuals who have experienced incarceration and who are seeking to become successful entrepreneurs. Now, during the first cohort, we intentionally kept registration to 10 to 15, but lost several to attrition throughout the 6 months. So for the following cohorts, we over-enrolled in anticipation of withdrawals, and we began each cohort with 20 to 25 individuals. And this allowed us to expand the opportunity to participate while still keeping the group size manageable, and also ensured that we ended the program strong. Okay. So as Adam covered earlier in the presentation, we released a complete detailed curriculum during orientation for the first cohort in January 2021. And we found that this resulted in some students skipping ahead and actually losing interest in the course. So we remedied this for the second iteration by releasing the content in monthly increments. And you can kind of see what that looks like here on the screen, where it lists the first month and then the rest are locked. Okay, and related to releasing the curriculum in those sections, we're now requiring our students to complete an end-of-month evaluation to unlock the following month's content. And this end-of-month evaluation has provided us with a valuable opportunity to check in with students. It allows them to share feedback relating to the curriculum, the monthly presentations, and to share any concerns or issues that they may have. We also use these communications to share reminders, announcements, and with the most recent cohort to collect small business resources that students may have encountered that they wish to share with their fellow participants. Now, because the New Start program is grant funded, we have been able to offer special opportunities and giveaways to encourage enrollment and engagement throughout. So the first is books. We offer 1 free book that we give to every student each month that relates to that month's topic and has been selected by our volunteer mentors. The next is a laptop. And while they do have the entrepreneurship kit that Adam showed you for the duration of the cohort, those who complete the program in good standing are able to receive a laptop to be theirs forever. And then finally, the Launchpad opportunity. And as Adam mentioned, this is a Shark Tank style event in which our program participants are able to pitch their small business ideas to potential donors. In addition to possible funding, without seeking a stake in the company, the panel is also willing to provide advice and encouragement to our student presenters. Now, the importance of communication in the success of our New Start Entrepreneurship Incubator cannot be overstated. And while highly effective, it's helpful to note that many of these tips are quite simple and can be applied to a variety of programs and initiatives, no matter how small you'd like to start. So first, we've learned that sending reminders before each class has been an effective retention strategy. In addition, our New Start outreach coordinator, Andrea, checks in with students on a regular basis to ensure that they have the tools needed for success across the board. Our students are expected to communicate with their mentors at least monthly for the duration of the program and are encouraged to share their business plan drafts with them for review and guidance. And as we've discussed, the monthly evaluation in order to release the next month's curriculum also has been an effective tool for keeping them on track. We've also added more interactive components to the monthly meetings and a few optional events, such as a business plan workshop, so that students can have more opportunity to communicate with one another. And this has been vital in building camaraderie between the students and a feeling of community within their expanding business networks. The next thing we learned along the way is the importance of effective marketing. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to start off showing you that marketing video. So targeted marketing, both in person and online, has been key to reaching our intended audience. We used some of our grant money to hire a production company to design and create the marketing video, and that would get the word out effectively and to inspire potential students to register for the program. Sensitivity has also been an important part of our initiative, especially since we are working closely with a marginalized group. So labels such as ex-offender or a convicted felon have become commonplace and are frequently heard in the media. But when working with disadvantaged groups of individuals, we opt for language that puts the person first. So for example, considering using formerly incarcerated or justice involved instead of phrasing like ex-con. We initially used returning citizens in the program, but later we realized that it was vague and potentially exclusionary because not all formerly incarcerated individuals are citizens. So we definitely still learned along the way as well. Next slide. Okay. Generalizations and privacy concerns are the final considerations that we'd like to share, both in relation to our New Start program, but also to any other small business or entrepreneurship endeavors your library might be interested in beginning. So formerly incarcerated people come from all walks of life and represent a spectrum of educational and occupational backgrounds. This concept can be applied to any group setting. So don't assume levels of knowledge or experience. When it comes to potential privacy concerns, finding the right balance will depend on your program and audience. And due to the sensitive nature of our participants' backgrounds, we always ask permission before taking photos or videos. And an important takeaway to remember is that these ideas can be applied to most programs, not just small business programs. And we learn most of these tips through experience. So don't be afraid to experiment and try new things with your own programs. And then finally, we thought it would be fitting to leave you with one of our favorite success stories. And this is from our second cohort of the New Start Entrepreneurship Incubator. So it's our pleasure to introduce to you Shartisia Griffin of Diamond Shine Enterprises.
I'm Shartisia Griffin, and thanks to the library, I have my own business. What we're going to do is get started. Let me show you where all of the supplies you're going to need are. I own Diamond Shine Enterprises. We are a commercial and residential cleaning service. I currently have about 14 employees and almost 40 contracts from Gwinnet County to Fulton County. I heard someone from the library speak about this program, and I couldn't believe that something like that existed, number one. And of course, you're like, it's too good to be true. Like, for free, we're gonna what?
I'm the project manager of the New Start Entrepreneurship Incubator, and it is a 6-month program for formerly incarcerated individuals who want to start a small business.
I did serve 15 years in the Georgia Correctional Facility, but I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that because I came from a very traumatic place. I didn't know anything. I didn't know that I had options, and being able to be snatched out of that current and see and understand that this was not okay. I learned to live a different way.
The students attend monthly classes at our Logan branch where they hear from small business experts on topics such as marketing and branding and how to draft a business plan. And then they complete an online curriculum afterwards and also receive one-on-one support from a mentor.
Life after incarceration is possible. We don't have to do certain things or live certain places or work certain, we can be whatever we so choose to.
Chartesia is a real success story of this program. She's well on her way to being a successful entrepreneur.
This program is life-changing. You had a dream when you were young. You wanted to be or do something, be and do it. Because you have the capacity to and the ability to, and through that library, you'll have the support.
Thank you so much. And there were so many points that were made in the opening keynote that you touched on in your stories from your libraries about the power of entrepreneurship to transform lives, about the importance of this work in what libraries do, especially around leveling the playing field, reducing barriers, and providing access to information. So thank you. And I'm so impressed with everything that you've been working on. So if anyone has any questions, you can start putting them in the chat now, but I do have a couple of prepared questions to get us started. So my first is, for people who are watching and, may not already have established programs or, they're just getting started, how did you first get started in your libraries, or how did supporting entrepreneurs become a priority? And how can a library start small and then grow those services?
So I will say with Spokane County, we, up until about 10, 12 years ago, did not do much with business support because the city of Spokane had a huge presence with small business support in the business community in the core of downtown. And we had a leadership change about 10 years ago, and the director made this a priority because, as she rightly pointed out, our service area is so spread out compared to where all of the business services are in the core of downtown Spokane. And we started out by just being present at meetings to hear what was going on in the community. So we would go to Chamber of Commerce meetings. If there's like a Merchants Association meeting that you can get yourself invited to. I started to attending our SCORE chapter meetings, just being there to hear what they're doing, being able to point out what we could help their mentors, their mentees with at, business resources and things like that. So I know it can be frustrating because people want to jump in and just immediately start running and doing something, but really first you have to listen to what's going on, what sorts of things are your community members asking for. And it can be as simple as listening across the desk when you get those requests for help from people that are trying to launch their business. So that was kind of our slow entry point, and then we very slowly started adding programming and things like that, but I'm not sure how Gwinnet approached it.
Well, I think, starting with partners we had already worked with, and also since we were working with the formerly incarcerated, reaching out to the Greater Gwinnet Reentry Alliance. And then on top of that, just, look for resources that are freely available that you already have access to, whether that's your own library databases or things like SCORE. Not only do they have lots of great templates, but potentially some volunteers. And I mentioned in the presentation, the Brian Hamilton Starter U or the Entrepreneurial Mindset Academy. So there's lots out there. It of course helps to have, grant funds to offer incentives and make the program even better, but it can be done, on a smaller budget if needed.
That's great. And you talked about really listening to your partners, but I'm also wondering how else you discovered what it was that businesses and entrepreneurs in your communities want. So I love the idea of doing population-specific programs, especially in relation to what community needs are or services that aren't currently being addressed in gaps. But how is it that you do that, that listening? What are you listening for to figure out where those gaps are or what it is that's needed?
Well, I can just say, for Gwinnet, you really have to know your community, first of all, but again, it goes back to the community partners, get kind of the pulse from them, what's their feedback, and go from there. and look at the local demographics. Look at, you know, in our case, you know, we know that Georgia has one of the highest incarceration rates in the US, and Gwinnet in Georgia has one of the highest incarceration rates in Georgia. So that was an obvious way we could help the community, and there was a gap there for sure that wasn't being addressed.
And I think for us in Spokane County,
excuse me, goodness. It was really, when you're working with a partner who has their pulse, you know, has their finger on the pulse, if you will. So with the chamber up in Deer Park, you know, getting that confirmation that what we were seeing, you know, it's like, why are people not, you know, making the effort to do some holiday displays to draw people in, and getting that confirmation from the chamber that, yeah, they're just very, you know, disjointed. And so getting that confirmation and then talking with the businesses, and that's something we've been able to do with in our role as the neighborhood champion with Small Business Saturdays. We do a follow-up with each participating business afterwards, and you know, we talk to them about what went well, what could have gone better, what, you know, oh, and by the way, what training need, you know, is there something that would be helpful? And because we have these small communities throughout the county, there's not that recognition that even though the Spokane SCORE office is 20 miles away from Deer Park, that doesn't mean we can't work to bring that content up to the community. So just kind of being that connecting point is something that sometimes you get into a situation, you're like, well, this seems obvious. Why has no one talked to SCORE about presenting a workshop up here? But honestly, it's just people just get in their little bubble and they don't think about it. So sometimes it's just really like, oh, it seems like these needs are something that SCORE could help us with, or the SBDC, or, you know, get your chamber to sponsor something. So there's just kind of looking at what the solution might be that you could help with.
And we have a question in the chat, more specifically about Gwinnett County. I would love to know if, you know, this wasn't in the chat, but if you're able to share your curriculum or any of the other materials. And we also have a question about sharing the names of the business consultants that you used for this program. So can you share a little bit more about developing the curriculum and what it is that you're able to share with others for anyone who's interested in doing something similar?
Yeah, we'd be happy to share the curriculum. Just let us know what's the best way to do that. And as far as the, so the question was about how did we develop the curriculum? We really did, you know, we sat down as a team. We looked at, you know, other like just entrepreneurship topics that you would need to know, you know, to launch a small business. You know, what are the basic, you know, topics? And that was kind of our starting point. And then we looked at our resources and how we could supplement those topics with what we already had and what we had access to. And I think, I don't know, Andrea and Atlas, if you have anything else to add to that, but that was really, you know, there was no magic behind it. That was really how we did it. It was just sitting down and thinking about what would somebody need to know to start a small business and going from there.
Yeah, I definitely do remember in the beginning, it was a lot, it was very research heavy on our part because we were learning and splitting up the content once we decided the natural and important progression of things, and supplementing our own resources with what we could find out there to build a more comprehensive curriculum. There was a question about business consultants. We didn't really work with any consultants. We really have relied heavily on community partners. So we mentioned the Gwinnet Entrepreneurship Center. Sorry, I'm so tongue-tied today. SCORE, a small business ally, the Greater Gwinnet Reentry Alliance. These were all very vital and important to the success of our program, and they're community partners that we work with for free.
Right, so I think we have time for one more question, and one just popped in. So do you think the New Start program could work with other groups such as veterans? We have that in our community. So do you feel that this program is adaptable?
I would say yes, for sure. We've even had interest from among GCPL staff of, you know, using the curriculum for young teens who are interested in an entrepreneurship route. It really is pretty holistic in terms of how you would start a business from start to finish. So definitely adaptable.
Okay, and I do have one more question. So And Stacey, I'll start with you. This one might be a little bit tricky, but you had the funds from LBB, but now that the program is completed, how are you able to find funding, or what are some ideas for making the most of limited library budgets to either start something new or expand?
Sure. I will say that we're
Fortunate in my district we have a dedicated part of the budget is for programming. It's like 0.5% or something, but it's still, we've got like, I don't know, $50,000 a year for programming. That said, we can't use our programming dollars to buy things like gift certificates or things like that. So that's where we really do rely on the generosity of our friends groups. We also have a library foundation, so a 501c3 nonprofit, and they just launched this past year. So I'm going to give them another year to kind of really ramp up, and then I'm going to approach them about, funding opportunities. Another option could be just reaching out to the business communities and seeing if they'd be willing to donate 1 year, because we've tried a number of things in the 7 years that we've done this program. And 1 year we tried buying small gift cards, like $5 gift cards, and we had a couple businesses donate, $25 worth of $5 gift cards that we handed out to people that finished their activity and brought it back to the library. So there are some things out there. I think there's probably some grant opportunities too, if someone, if you have the time to look into that and apply. And it could be something that the local chamber of commerce is willing to support, and they can kind of do a rallying cry at a membership meeting to say, this event is happening. Are there businesses that are willing to provide some financial support?
Great, thank you. And Gwinnett County, any thoughts on funding?
Well, to continue the program, we would probably be looking at either funding through grants or, to some extent through the library budget. But for the incentives like Launchpad, to fund the incentive money, we would probably be looking at approaching credit unions or other outside sources of, money to fund something like that. We couldn't sustain that through the library's budget, obviously, but we would be approaching outside, donors for that.
Great. Thank you so much. And are there any other final pieces of advice that you would like to share?
I would say just don't be afraid to start something like this, and you don't have to start big. You can start small. You don't need a huge budget to start, an entrepreneurship program. It doesn't have to be. But it certainly pays dividends for the community, no matter how big, how small. I think you're going to see positive benefits for your participants.
It's like Adam read my mind and stole
my words. But the other thing I would say is just there's a lot of benefit in showing up at the chamber meetings, even just if it's a smaller community, going into some of the local businesses, introducing yourself. There's so many people everywhere who just assume libraries are great for story times and homework support. And there's a couple generations of people who don't realize that we have all these great business resources and can support folks that are trying to get a small business launched. So just kind of, you're going to get tired of saying the same thing over and over and over again, but just reminding people that you're there and that you have a lot to offer the business community. So be patient as you're doing that.
Atlas or Andrea?
Yeah, I just want to say that we just need to keep in mind that the library is the hub of the community, and the library is in place to help grow the community, to make it a healthy, prosperous community. And through these small business programs, we can do that through building the economy. So just like everyone said today, research, you can follow along and see what everyone else is doing and add to it, make it your own, and get your framework in place and go have fun with it.
I would echo everything that everybody has said so far, but I would also like to say on a personal note, there's a huge amount of value in being involved in something like this. We've seen lives change based on the experiences that people have had going through our program, and being able to really go from a place of hardship and trauma to having their own successful business. And I consider that an honor. It's been wonderful to be a part of it.
Well, thank you again for taking time to be here today.